Hello. I bind unto myself this day the strong name of the Trinity, by invocation of the same, the three in one and one in three. The words of St. Patrick, of course. And living at a time when the Christian faith was struggling to sort of get organised in this country and in Ireland. It's really quite a wonderful testament to saints like St. Patrick and to the other saints that are sort of indigenous to the British Isles. I mean, St. Patrick himself was, of course, Scottish, born in Kilpatrick, before being taken to Ireland and becoming the bishop there. His words, I bind unto myself the strong name of the Trinity. If you look at sort of the Celtic art, particularly of that sort of time, it's all knots. It's these beautiful mathematical, symmetrical patterns of knots interweaving laces. And you can see in St. Patrick's understanding of the Trinity how he wants that sort of to be in that interlacing to come about so that it binds itself to him. Now, famously, perhaps apocryphally, he is said to have used the shamrock to demonstrate the Trinity. Now, of course, he knew as well as we do that you can only stretch that analogy so far. But nonetheless, it was the aid that he used to try and bring the people of Ireland to belief in the Catholic faith. Do we bind ourselves to the Trinity? The interesting thing about binding is that we still use it in terms of theology. Indeed, if you look at the word religion, that lig bit in religion is the same lig as in ligature. And it means a tying up, it means a binding. And religious people are bound. We are bound to something. Even people who say, "Oh, I'm spiritual but not religious," the question is, well, if you say you're spiritual, you're bound to something. You're bound to some expression of this thing that you call spirituality. And as Christians, we bind unto ourselves the name, the strong name of the Trinity. And we can use those wonderful knots that the Celts used, and that's a testament to the beauty and the complexity and the simplicity of the Trinity. The question is, what do we really bind ourselves to? And as we are in Lent, we examine what we are bound to, those things that tie us down. It's all very well being bound to the Trinity, or having that bound to us, because that's rather like binding a plant to a staff, which gardeners do, in order to keep the stem from breaking as it grows. But there's another way of being bound, and that's being tied up in knots and becoming enslaved. Jesus tells us that we are not slaves to God. Our destiny is to be his friends. We are his children, and while we are children, we are under tutors and guides. Now, it's not to say that we're enslaved. We're still free, because we're still free to choose what God wants for us, and we're free to choose what God doesn't want for us. We still have that freedom. The thing is, we must take the consequences of what we do choose. But it's what we do choose. It's when we choose to sin. And remember, sin is something that enslaves us. We are slaves to sin. And that binds us. That binds us to this earth. It binds us to this reality. It binds us away from God. That's what sin does for us. And we have to learn to allow Jesus to break the bonds, to burst those bonds asunder, so that we are no longer in the prison house of the flesh, as it were, with all the fleshly desires, but we are free to explore our existence as spiritual beings. We aren't just animals, we are rational animals. And rational means that we have some aspect of the soul. We have a rational soul that animals don't have. And what we learn to do in Lent is we examine what binds us. What binds us away from Christ? If Christ says to us that we should be prepared to leave here from father, mother, wife, children, personal belongings, even one's own body, if we are to leave all for the sake of him, if we are to, in his words, hate our family, and by that, of course, he means to love less. Our love for our family can bind us away from Jesus. And we have to be prepared to look very carefully about ways in which Jesus himself will loose us from those bonds. It's all very well to say that we love our family, but can we honestly say that we prefer Jesus to them? That's hard. But the beauty of it is, God is love. And love frees from bonds by binding us. It's a beautiful paradox. In being bound to Jesus, we die upon the cross with him, and we are raised with him, because we're bound to him. But we love our family because we love Jesus. Because God is love, and then any love that we have that is true love must involve God. So we look at ourselves during Lent and we say, what am I truly bound to? What's binding me? What's binding me away from our Lord? What's binding us from being free to be the person that God wants us to be? So God bless you. God bless you that you may bind unto yourselves the strong name of the Trinity. God bless you that you may have your bonds to this world untied by the love of Christ. And God bless you that as you are bound to Christ in his death, so you may be bound to him in his resurrection. God bless you, and please pray for me.